The concept of Arizona Cardinals 2.0 will now be put to the test. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Clancy here, Locked On Cardinals. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on the YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, turn notifications on, leave a comment. Trying to build the family here, man. So, interesting pod today. I've talked a lot this offseason. Everydayers know this. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thank you. Maybe make tomorrow your second. I'll be connecting with Travis Rogers from Locked On Rams for Crossover Thursday. Always love connecting with Rogers and having conversations about the Rams and Cardinals, respectively. Arizona Cardinals 2.0 is something I've coined. It's not original. It's not anything. 2.0 is a thing that people put after any sort of entity in an effort to acknowledge that there is a change in place. Okay. But I've coined Arizona Cardinals 2.0 for a couple different reasons. One, the last regime is no longer here. Fresh start, namely Steve Keim, where this is something that is a true different trajectory than the last decade that the Arizona Cardinals have been under. Just, by happenstance, by proxy. It just is because Steve Keim is no longer here. So Arizona Cardinals 2.0 is kind of a two or threefold thing. One, it's just a culture change. Regime change, Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, Nick Rallis, Monti Ossenfort, different. Culture change. Players that have been here for a couple of years that weren't a part of the bigger plan, gone. Byron Murphy, Zach Allen, Isaiah Simmons. And mostly it's the excitement of the unknown of what is the future going to hold for this new regime. Is it going to be with Kyler Murray or is it going to be without Kyler Murray? What are they going to do in the draft next year? What are they do in free agency next year? What are they going to do with Hollywood Brown? What are they going to do with James Conner? What are they going to do with Zach Ertz? What are they going to do with Budda Baker? What are they going to do with Zaven Collins? What are they going to do with Rondale Moore? Like, all of these questions are good questions. It's not they don't know what they're doing. It's what's going to happen with all of these players. And when, camp started after the draft, and Monti Ossenfort seemingly knocked out of the park. We'll see with B.J. Ojulari and Garrett Williams, who haven't really played meaningful snaps yet. Garrett Williams hasn't played at all due to injury. B.J. Ojulari was coming off injury during the offseason. The draft was seemingly knocked out of the park, especially compared to whatever Steve Keim has done over the last decade. Check. Jonathan Gannon seems to have control over what he wants to do with this team. Check. Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis, so far, have really immersed themselves in their new roles. Because remember, obviously Jonathan Gannon had never been a head coach before, but neither had Drew Petzing or Nick Rallis been offensive or defensive coordinator before, respectively. Check. While everything is well and good during the offseason, during camp, see Paris Johnson Jr. laughing, running down the field, happy to be here, happy to be an Arizona Cardinal. Jonathan Gannon instilling a different stencil as what it is to be an Arizona Cardinals employee as a player, a far cry from, fruit breaks and cell phone breaks and things like that. Check. They bring in Josh Dobbs. Week 1 was a disaster, rightfully so, but the defense had fire that we hadn't seen in a long time. Week 2, week 3, week 4, the offense had a fire that we hadn't seen in a long time. Stable, cohesive, adult offense being run. A lot of 12 personnel. Not very many 25-second 3-pass 3-and-outs by the offense. And it's all well and good. When it's new, it's fresh. It's the first month of the season. They get a dub against the Cowboys. They almost beat the Giants. But then now, against San Francisco, they played a much better team. San Francisco handled them, namely Christian McCaffrey. Last week it was Cincinnati with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. We're starting to see the separation. And this wasn't a team that had Super Bowl aspirations this year, okay? But it was a team that held themselves differently on game day. Being prepared. Being ball hawking on defense, even though, the talent is somewhat devoid compared to the average defense in the NFL. The offense was humming, even with Joshua Dobbs hucking the rock. But now is where it's really going to be put to the test. Everything that Jonathan Gannon has implemented and instilled in his new team up until this point is now going to be activated. What happens if Kyler Murray doesn't come back till week 10 and the Cardinals are 1-8 then? And they lose in somewhat embarrassing fashion on Sunday. And then rinse and repeat. Turn the ball over. Can't stop anybody on defense. Offense stalls with James Conner not here. This is when the resolve of this team is going to be shown or not. If they come out with the fire every week or not. Because every week so far they've come out with the fire. Unadulterated, unequivocal, not up for debate. This team has not showed up to a game not prepared and not with that fire in their gut ready to play. I take you back to 2021. The Arizona Cardinals, I believe we're just coming off their bye. I need to double check that. They go to Detroit and they lose to an inferior Detroit Lions team when they had the number 1 seed in the NFC. Well coached, well prepared teams don't lose those games. Irrespective of the win-loss record for the Arizona Cardinals in 2023, will be how they show up to games every day. How they show up when they're 1-11. If they show with the same fire and the same passion as they did early in the season when they were giving better teams a run for their money. And this is when it really starts. Injuries starting to pile up. Jalen Thompson, we don't know. James Conner on IR. Budda Baker still on IR. This is when we will see if the Jonathan Gannon project is starting to work. If the Jonathan Gannon, Monti, Ossenfort, Drew Petzing, Nick Rallis team and what they've instilled the rest of the team is given the proof of concept that this will work whether they're winning or losing. It's mental. It's emotional. It's showing resolve. And it's still enjoying playing with each other regardless if they win or lose. And this is not not a green ribbon trophy giveaway. Okay, this isn't a consolation prize year for the Cardinals. This is trying to find meaningful and build uponable, nailed it, takeaways from every week. Things they've done well every week that they're able to build upon, be the building blocks for the future and for the future foundation of this team. And it starts now. The mental aspect of Arizona Cardinals 2.0 starts now. Alex Lancey, Locked On Cardinals. There was a stat that was put out, and I love it. I don't know why I got so much pushback, but I'm excited to talk about it. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Football host Vinny Iyer to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Vinny's picked for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Matthew Stafford has been passing a ton all season long for the Rams, but recorded his first 2-touchdown game of the season only in Week 5 against the Eagles. With Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Tutu Atwell all healthy together as his clear top 3 wideouts, he will go to work with an even bigger game at home against the Cardinals' pass defense. Sean McVay has had his veteran quarterback rolling, and Stafford won't disappoint in Week 6. With his young receivers balling to help Kupp, Stafford has quickly become a rejuvenated fantasy asset for 2023 that it should have more big days ahead. Vinny Iyer from Locked On Fantasy Football is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts, if you're number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly with brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers. Whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. So, this is going to be fun, and then it's going to be not fun. That's going to be the roadmap for the rest of the show. So Arjun Menon, this dude, like, if you don't follow him on Twitter, at Arjun Menon 100, puts out some wild graphs. They're not line graphs. Graphs with all 32 teams about specific, down and distance, things like that. And there was one that he put out. This is the tweet. Here's how often teams have run the ball on 2nd and 10 following a 1st and 10 incompletion. Okay? So let's paint the picture here. Last year, last couple of years, we've seen a lot, and this isn't a knock, this is just the truth. We've seen a lot of Kyler Murray steps back, incomplete. Kyler Murray steps back, incomplete. Kyler Murray steps back, incomplete. Punt, 37 seconds. Ring a bell? Yeah. Step back and punt. Step back. Incomplete. Step back, incomplete. Step back, incomplete. 28 seconds. Punt. After the defense was on the field for 3 minutes trying to defend the other team. The Arizona Cardinals lead the NFL percentage-wise in running the ball on 2nd and 10 following a 1st and 10 incompletion by a long shot. And while this may seem arbitrary, ancillary, whatever it may be, I haven't been more excited about a graph in a long time. I know it sounds dumb, but I think this is really important. If there's one graph that could show the clear Grand Canyon between how the last regime ran this offense and how the new regime is running the offense, this is it. The Arizona Cardinals lead the NFL in running the ball on 2nd and 10 after an incompletion on 1st and 10. And yeah, sure, this is a small piece into a grand ocean of things that need to be done well in an offense for it to succeed in the NFL. Of course. But isn't it kind of nice that it's trending the other way? Isn't it kind of nice that, getting yards here would be important? Is championed? While they kind of fell flat on their face against Cincinnati in the second half, and while it's easy for me, and I know this, I've gotten some vitriol, I've gotten some pushback on Twitter, et cetera, in the comments, just, about, and I don't wear that as like here's, I wasn't expecting to do this thing. Here's the disclaimer. If you're going to say something that you think is controversial, don't say, here's a hot take, and then say it. I'm going to get some backlash for this, and then say it. Don't say it. Just say it. I'm saying this retroactively just because I didn't think specific things would piss people off. I didn't think that people would disagree. I didn't think that. But gaining yards instead of having to get the whole kit and caboodle all at once is a little bit more prudent and behooves a team to do so in an effort to move the ball down the field. So running the ball on second down after an incompletion on 1st and 10, I think is the thing. Like on the other side, Doug Peterson. So this is Doug Peterson, head coach of the Jaguars, have faced 20 second downs following a 1st and 10 incompletion and haven't run the ball once on second down. Isn't that wild? So I don't know. I think that what Drew Petzing is doing is right. I think that what Drew Petzing is doing is, it's something that is revolutionizing what the Cardinals need. And I think what Drew Petzing is doing is elevating the floor of this offense to, you guessed it, implement the proof of concept for when this team is whole, talent-wise, with Kyler Murray back, in an effort to catapult this team to the next level back into relevancy. So when you look at a direct comparison between what we see the last 4 years to now, you just can't. It's a new age here. It's a new age. And there's one thing, and when I talk about the hot take thing before, well, hot take, guys, don't say that. Little tip. But the comparison from 2022 and 2021 to now, how the numbers were better with Cliff, and in 2022, the first 5 weeks to now, look at the rosters. Who's playing quarterback now? Who's playing quarterback through 5 weeks last year? What was the defense like last year, talent-wise? Comparing the two is a fool's errand, and it makes me ha, 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 if you want to bring that up. Try something different. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Is it nightmare fuel for the Cardinals in Week 6 in Los Angeles? I'll explain next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Jace Medical. So, oh man. Jace Medical. I love Jace Medical. Everyone should be empowered to take care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. And that's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Okay, remember, they provide 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so you don't, you're not just hoping you have access to the medication that you need. Get 20% off or $20 off on these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Are we staring at nightmare fuel for the Arizona Cardinals in Week 6? Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit subscribe, turn the notifications on so you know when you can see my big dumb face. Go leave a review if you want. Apple, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, you don't have to. I'm just happy that you're here. So what I mean by jet fuel or nightmare fuel, the Arizona Cardinals secondary isn't great, especially with their 2 best players, Budda Baker and now Jalen Thompson, probably missing time. Marco Wilson has a quarterback rating when targeted of over 120 this year. Not great. Antonio Hamilton hasn't played very well. Keitrell Clark has shown flashes, but he's a 6th-round rookie thrust into action where maybe he's not technically ready to play every snap, even though, as I've said multiple times, this is a great time for young players to get meaningful snaps when there's really no true pressure on them to succeed. To be impact makers, to be difference, game-winning, game-time makers. It's just not this year. Nightmare fuel. Cooper Kupp healthy. Puka Nacua, the greatest thing we've ever seen from a rookie through the first 4 or 5 weeks of his season. I think he has the hottest start out of anybody ever through the first 4, definitely through the first 4 weeks, first 3 weeks, something like that. And then Cooper Kupp came back last week and just Cooper Kupp. If you have Cooper Kupp and or Puka Nacua and probably Tutu Atwell on your fantasy football rosters, start them. Start them all. It is going to be problematic for the Arizona Cardinals secondary on the road to maintain and keep up with two of the, Cooper Kupp is arguably the best receiver in the league. We don't know. Top 3, whatever it is. And Puka Nacua is the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year. Offensive. Just target monsters. Probably going to get 15 targets each. They could probably both go for 200 yards. We have no idea what's going to happen. This is not something I say tongue-in-cheek as like a knock on the Cardinals, because going into this season, going into the offseason, hell, it was obvious their game plan was twofold. 2 offseasons, 2 free agencies, 2 drafts. They drafted Garrett Williams. We'll see if he's healthy for Sunday. We're 7 days in or close to, whatever. We're 5 days in, 6 days in, into the 21-day window where he can start to practice and be activated to the active roster. We'll see if he plays this week. Not exactly sure. As I'm recording this podcast, we'll get more information as the week progresses. But the cornerback room was not one that had a lot of attention paid to it this offseason. And this is going to be problematic for the Arizona Cardinals defense on Sunday, unless the defense can get home. Now, unless the passers can get home and they can turn Matthew Stafford over. We'll be talking with Travis Rogers from Locked on Rams tomorrow. Super excited. He's one of my favorites here on the platform. And he'll tell us how good Puka Nacua is. He'll tell us Matthew Stafford's resurgence. He'll tell us about Cooper Kupp and how this could be an absolute nightmare for the Cardinals secondary. The Cardinals have surprised people before. That doesn't mean that it's 100% foregone conclusion. This isn't Madden on easy. This is the NFL. Anything can happen. But if you read the preamble, if you read the prologue, that's what I meant, to week 6, with Puka Nacua going absolutely nuclear, Cooper Kupp coming back as if he never left, and the Cardinals secondary struggling, namely with Jamar Chase, 15 for 190 plus and 3 touchdowns last week. Temper your expectations on the final score for Sunday. We're looking for small wins, things to build upon, amid what is set to be not so many wins this season, and that's okay. It is. Alex Lindsay, Locked on Cardinals. I will talk to you with Travis Rogers tomorrow on Crossover Thursday. Talk to you then.